Welcome to the Galvanize with Gavin podcast. This is your host, baseball player and entrepreneur, Gavin Johns. This podcast will empower you to reach your fullest potential in life. Inspirational stories, keys to success, and practical methods to overcome life's challenges will be revealed. I encourage you to be the light in the lightning and spark a positive change in the world today. How's everyone doing? This is the Galvanize with Gavin podcast. Thank you everyone for joining. Two very special guests on today. So one is a great volleyball player. She played at Cal State Northridge. She went on to play on the Puerto Rican national team from 2011 to 2016. Ended up making it to the pinnacle of the Olympics, the Summer Olympics in 2016 in Rio de Janeiro. Lynda Morales, and we have her boyfriend as well, Brian Corey, stud football player, has an amazing story of perseverance and overcoming many obstacles, made it all the way to the XFL, and in the near future, we're praying he gets an opportunity with the NFL. He's talking with some teams, so we're super excited for them. Thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate you too.
Yeah, of course. We're excited to be on.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
No problem. So I'll give everyone a little background, how we know each other, and then I'll just get into some questions. So like I said, it's an inspirational podcast. So the audience and the viewers can learn more about you two and your story and be able to take some encouragement from that. So I guess in summary, how we met was through Dynamic Fitness. Shout out Kevin in the crew. We work out together at the same place back home where I grew up in Temecula, California. Just fortunate to be around just the top of the top athletes. And Lynda is working out in there. She's always doing her thing at the vertical jump and whatnot. And all those different explosive workouts, and I was fortunate enough to meet Brian as well recently. Just a great man, a great heart, and a very encouraging, inspiring story in football. And I believe it's just getting started. There's a lot left that God has in store for him. So definitely super excited how we met, and just grateful for the relationship we have. So
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask, first question, I'm going to go to Brian first. So first question, when did you start playing football, and how did you find out that was, one of your main passions, would you say?
The way I started wasn't the prettiest start. I always, like team sports and competing. And initially I played a lot of hockey. And actually I went out for football. I started playing football as a freshman in high school. And I think I ended up not going out my sophomore year. I just wanted to focus on hockey. But all my friends in high school, we were doing it together. There was a pretty good lifting program. So you kind of build the camaraderie through that. But it was, initially my main sport was hockey. But, as things, actually I took gap years between high school and college to play junior hockey, pursuing college hockey. And eventually I found out that I had better odds playing football in college than hockey. And so I kind of pivoted and switched, and got a chance to play football at Carnegie Mellon. But yeah, I started football probably a lot later than most people. But it was just, I always, I kind of gravitated towards it because it was, you're on a team, you're playing with your friends, and then it's definitely a meritocracy. You find a way to work hard and add value to the team, and find your role and help out where you can. So it's kind of went through my athletics career. I kept football was a great fit for me and allowed me to compete. So
That's awesome. Yeah, some background info for everyone as well. The first time Brian and I met, I got to tell the story. He was lying on the training table, just getting his workout in, and I saw him, and I talked to Kevin. I was like, "What is this, like Rob Gronkowski in here?" Or what? And I jokingly said, like, "Oh, like definitely a golfer, right? You know, just like we had a good laugh, but yeah, that's awesome. Just hearing how your story started, and you know, even though you started late, you know, you've made a lot of progress in that meantime, and worked super hard. You know, I could tell, you know, in the couple times that we've spoken so far, that, you know, you're a very humble guy, and very hard worker, and that's inspiring for me and for a lot of people. So that's really cool. Thanks for sharing that. So, no problem, no problem. So Lynda, now for you, you know, volleyball, you know, superstar. How did you start playing volleyball? When was that, and what kind of what did that path look like for you?
It's actually kind of similar to Brian's. I didn't start playing until I was almost 16 years old. I'd done basketball and track and field, and I was actually also in the marching band growing up.
Wow.
And,
Okay.
yeah, saxophone.
Hi.
But it wasn't until I was about 15 and a half, 16 that my sister's high school coaches saw me in the gym, and he was like, wow, he saw how tall and long and lean I was. Like, have you ever thought about like playing volleyball? And that was the moment where I was like kind of recruited to kind of play for like the club locally. And then the next year I played and I got out for my high school team, and I made varsity. It was my first year playing high school volleyball, and I got the opportunity to play on the varsity team. And then after that, I continued playing, and I can attribute a lot of my success to like the individuals around me gave me opportunities, and all my eagerness. Like I was always a player that was like wanting to just get another rep, do whatever I needed to do to get better. But just having that fire, and like a lot of my coaches recognize that. And then obviously having the God-given ability of being tall and athletic, and growing up and playing basketball prior to that, like that was huge. But yeah, I didn't get started until I was almost a junior in high school. And then I got recruited to Cal State Northridge. My junior year, I got a full ride volleyball scholarship. Then I played there for 4.5 years, for 4 seasons. I redshirted my freshman year because unfortunately the day of prom of my senior year of high school, I rolled my ankle and I had to get surgery, which is like, and I ended up getting a cast put on that same day. I still went to prom that night, which is kind of a crazy story. Yeah, so long story short, I had to get surgery right before my freshman, so I'm redshirting. And then I skated my 4 seasons, pretty much started every season, which I'm super thankful for. And then I found out, which is a super like crazy story of how I ended up playing for the Puerto national team. I got a message, an email from a general manager from a professional team in Puerto Rico asking if I had any Puerto Rican descent because my last name is Morales. And I was like, yeah, my grandma was born in Arecibo. And he was like, you know, you could play for our professional team, like our professional league, and then potentially for our national team. And I had no idea that Puerto Rico had even like their own national team or a professional league. So my life was forever changed, doors for me. So yeah, that's kind of how I got involved with volleyball, and kind of what led me onto being on the Puerto Rican national team.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's a great story. I love hearing all the different stories. You know, everyone has a unique journey and a unique path, you know, and not always easy. You know, I think everyone kind of sees maybe that end product, or when you reach that success and they see the surface area, but they don't know all the hours behind the scenes you put in that work, or, you know, all the adversity you had to overcome. I wanted to ask next, starting with Brian, I wanted to ask, you know, you've had a crazy story. We were both talking about it, you know, as far as, you know, me sleeping in the car, you sleeping on the gym floor.
That was literally when that part came out. I literally looked at Kevin after, like, dude, Gavin's about it. He knows.
Yeah. So like if you wouldn't mind just kind of painting that picture, just what that was like and how that kind of molded you in the man you are today, and maybe how God is using that to prepare you for what he has in store for your future.
Yeah. Looking back, I was very fortunate to meet some pretty talented people who were generous. Frankly, a lot of my story starts like, um, shoot, I was always it's funny because like I'm, by degree and I guess by trade an engineer, like very much plan it out type A. But like the more and more I get into sports, I realize like you just gotta go with the flow and roll with the punches. And
Yeah.
so but I was really fortunate because back in college, we ended up doing a project where we went to Europe and made a boat. I was fortunate. I was just the perky friend looking for my resume. But actually, the president of the school club who set that up, he went to high school with actually one of the guys I moved out because I moved after college. I tried to go pro as a defensive end. Like, wasn't really even expecting like playing pro football. Really wasn't on my radar until after junior year of college. I had playing defensive end. I was second in the country in sacks in all Division III, and then after that, I was kind of like, I wonder if I can do this. I started reaching out and talking to guys who've been down that road. But a lot of my story just kind of comes back to finding good mentors, people who helped me. Like eventually I moved out from Michigan. I was working for Ford as an engineer, and then that I met through that school project back as a sophomore in college. He's training out in Carlsbad, California, with a bunch of free agents and retired NFL guys. I mean, I have stories from back when I was in Michigan. I was driving back and forth to Indianapolis to work with Matt Overton. He's a snapper of the Chargers now, big man of faith. But I mean, he's always been super generous. Guys show they want to work and get better. Helps guys along when he can. But more often than not, my story was, I tried to go pro as a DN. That didn't work out, and always kind of take a turn. And I was fortunate to have people help me along. We would just keep, one door would shut, another would open. Whether it was COVID came and shut down the XFL, like after I worked my way up from playing indoor football for $200 a game to the spring leagues, development league, into the XFL. And then was getting some traction there, and then all of a sudden COVID hit, so you're shut down. And but it's kind of been interesting seeing how, with all those turns in the road, faith definitely comes up because you start realizing like, hey, you can plan as much as you want, but God has a plan for you. And whether there's some adversity coming through, God's trying to teach you something. Like I've looked. Especially in professional sports, it's very competitive, and keeping the right attitude about it, where there's a lot of stuff you can't control. Even if you're competing well, things may not turn out your way, and just every obstacle or adversity that came up in the road, just find a way. Like I remember we were talking about this at Bible study last night, where I got picked up by my first NFL team, and then the day after I got cut, you go from you being in the facility, all your food's taken care of, your rides, everything's handled, you just got to show up and do football. And then the next thing I know, I'm back in California paying $4 a gallon for gas and cooking for myself.
Making his own meals.
but it really helps you get a good perspective of, despite your circumstances, make sure you have, your heart's strong on the right spot, your head's on straight, and just, kind of through all those tribulations, you're learning something, you're growing. But there's been times too, looking back at those, where I'm like, wow, I get, Snapper was hurt during preseason this year, and I got to play for them, or play for the Patriots. And there were some lessons that I learned in that time when I was cut by the Ravens, sitting in a field in Marietta, California, figuring that stuff out, and prepared me well for the next opportunity that came through. So, I completely forgot what the original question was. I just started. But all that just kind of learn, keep plugging with, and from it.
I think you appreciate it too, because I think when a lot of people have success right away, they don't really appreciate it versus people that kind of either have a chip on their shoulder or they have to go through a lot of adversity to achieve the amount of success that they have. They really understand like what the process was. So I think it's always great when you have to go through. I mean, as hard as things could be, you are always better for it.
You have a process. I'm just winging it.
That's funny. So I wanted to add, building off of that, this question's for Lynda. So Lynda, every time I see you, you have a smile on your face. You're always full of joy. Brian can attest to that. You know, what does that joy come from, and how you consistently keep that smile on your face?
I think I pursue things that make me happy. So whether it's like faith, family, fellowship, volleyball, firefighting, like I am an advocate and I pursue things that make me happy. So it's like, if you see me, you know, on a day-to-day basis, I'm probably going to be doing something that I enjoy. So usually when you see me at the gym, I love to work out. So when I'm there, I'm in like it puts me in the best mood. So I think it's really getting to know yourself and finding what truly makes you happy and pursuing that. And I think I've done a pretty good job trying to figure out myself and so far what makes me happy. So that's what I would attribute my happiness, and just trying to generally be an optimistic person and maintain that positivity. That really helps too.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. That's awesome. That was a great answer. I love that. Choose things that make you happy, you know, like we have the conscious decision to choose what we want to do. And I think that's just great encouragement for a lot of people, that you don't have to, you know, stay down or remain trapped in your thoughts or whatever. Like you can go out and choose to do what makes you happy. Like you said, you know, if you enjoy working out, enjoy getting in nature, hanging out with family, you know, having that fellowship. I think that's so important. So thanks for
Yes, with like-minded people that are going to bring you up, for sure. That's huge.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right. The next thing I wanted to ask is like 1 to 2 things from each of you, Ryan and Lynda, key to success. You know, you two have both achieved great things in your respective paths. So maybe for people that are, you know, just starting out in their path, or starting out going into a professional sport, whatever it may be, what keys to success would you both say that you have for them?
Okay, I'll go first. For me, kind of like what you'd said, like me being super like positive and outgoing and eager, like I would attribute that to a majority of my success, because I was always someone on the court that like wanted to get better and had that drive, that internal drive that nobody had to like coach me to get out. You know what I mean? That's not something you can coach. You either have it or you don't, or you can develop it. So I think generally having that inner sense of like just that fire and wanting to get better, and helping others at the same time, like that's huge. And then something that I contribute and I see with Brian every day is just how disciplined you need to be. It's like, you know what you need to achieve, and then whatever path you need to achieve that, it's vital. So just maintaining the amount of discipline that it takes. I mean, a lot of distractions that can happen, or, you know, opportunities that could present themselves that don't necessarily go in line with what you want to pursue. So I would say those are 2 huge key things that I could attribute to my success, for sure.
Those are good. Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Pressure's on. I'll follow up that.
That was quick. That was
all of that
It was kind of funny because what I was going to say, it just goes against what I just said, like not worrying about pressure. I think a lot of, I've found that success for me is just trying to be consistent and just finding ways to get better and not being intimidated by, I mean, there's, you know, when you're kind of going down that path, you're going to have people telling you what to do. There are going to be critics. There's going to be support, all sorts of different voices coming at you. I think some of it's being patient with yourself. Like if you're getting better, shoot, yeah, you've seen it, or you should ask the field in Los Alamos and Marietta. I had to learn how to snap and block, and it was a lot of reps, just experimenting and finding, okay, this works, this doesn't. And then I was just, some people do journals. Me being an engineer, like I probably go too heavy into the stats, but like I just found ways to, progress and success happens over time, and just keep finding little improvements. And then, having the patience with yourself when, you're not like you're competing against other people, but you're really not. Like if you just keep getting those little improvements time after time, chances are you're going to do well. You stay consistent with that if you really love doing it for those reasons. But then the other side of that, just dealing with pressure where it's like, don't get too, we lost them.
No, it's okay.
It was just that, sorry, our computer switched a little bit. I think we still have you. And then, there we go. We're back. Oh, sorry about that. But even too, like, don't, as long as you're getting better, be patient with yourself. Like there's going to be other people who started before you, behind you, especially with the people before you, like, you'll catch them in due time if you're working and doing the right stuff. But then also understanding too, like the people who started behind you, if you have a chance, try to help them along. I know that's, especially in these competitive environments, yeah, you want to win, you want to be first, but I think long haul, it's finding that consistent improvement. And I think there's a lot of enjoyment, and it's very rewarding when it's, you're working together with people pushing forward. So
being selfless. Yeah. Good job.
That's awesome. Definitely a lot of great words of encouragement and great wisdom and great advice that a lot of people are going to take a lot out of. So thank you for that. And so, yeah, that wraps up the episode. I'm super thankful that you two came on. Thank you for your time. And I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did.
Yeah, I loved it. Thank you for inviting us.
Thanks for having us, and thanks for creating a platform. Hopefully these messages get out and help some people. And you're doing good stuff, and excited to see the progress with baseball, and excited to see where you end up. So you're doing great stuff. So awesome. Yeah, thank you too. I really appreciate it. And we'll talk soon. So thank you everyone for tuning in to the Galvanize with Gavin podcast. It's been real, and we'll talk soon. Thank you all for tuning in to the Galvanize with Gavin podcast. I hope you were inspired and empowered to reach your fullest potential in life. For more resources, visit gavinjohns.com. For businesses interested in sponsoring the podcast, visit gavinjohns.com/sponsor. Thank you all, and God bless.